We are live. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to day 2 or week 2 or class number 2 of Secrets to a Supernatural Marriage. My God.
Hey.
It's going to be good tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Okay.
We shall see.
Okay.
We'll see.
So listen, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. As you can see, we're sitting here together. And so I want you to get something to write with, take notes, get all the stuff out of your atmosphere that may be hindering you, that may be a distraction. Y'all know how I do it. All my Life Mastery Mentorship members, y'all know the deal. All right. And so listen, I want you to start gathering your questions at any moment. And actually, you can start to send your questions in during the week. You don't have to wait until the night of the webinar to send in your questions. Okay. So as you are sitting here, and you'll see underneath this video, there is a place for you to send in your questions. I will see them. And we will answer questions at the end of the teaching on tonight. So this is your opportunity to get your questions answered. A lot of people always inbox me, well, what about this? And I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with that. Okay, well, ask your question right here, right now.
You don't answer?
Well, I can't answer all of them.
Okay.
You know, it's too many questions to be. I'm just me. I'm just one person.
Okay.
Okay.
All
But
right.
you can answer some.
Okay.
That's why we have webinars like this, classes like this, so that, you know, the teaching, the training, there's no way that we can do it all, or that I can do it all on Facebook Live. So we have private trainings and classes and webinars so that, you know, it's a time for us to go deeper in revelation and give you the blueprint, if you will. And so tonight, we are going to be talking about, drum roll. What we're going to be talking about?
Oh, you waiting on me? Oh.
No, we're going to be talking about
loyalty and trust.
Loyalty and trust.
Loyalty and trust.
And so I asked my husband to teach tonight on loyalty and trust because I know him to be a man of integrity. I trust him. He's been loyal. We've been married for 21 years.
21.
Can you believe that? Does it seem like it?
No, it doesn't. It seemed like just yesterday.
Anyway, I just want to formally introduce you.
Okay, go ahead.
So for those of you that don't know my husband, first and foremost, he's a man of God. Yeah, a man of God.
God. That's G-A-W-D.
God.
God.
He's a man of God. He's a man of integrity. I tell you, he, you know, is a man of longevity. Did you? Yeah, you're a man of longevity.
Okay.
He's a husband, a father, a great husband, a great father. You know, he's not one of them deadbeat dads that don't get involved. You know, he was there from day one. You know, I remember when, you know, I was pregnant, and, you know, you remember that when you didn't know how to change the diaper?
Yep.
Hey! Oh! He couldn't change the baby's diaper, but he had it down, boy. He became a pro.
But you had to learn it too your first
No,
time.
I just knew what to do, baby. It comes natural instinct, you know, as
Gotcha.
a woman, a mother.
All right.
But this is about introducing him tonight.
Thank you.
So not only is he a great husband, a great father, but he's a great provider. You are an awesome provider.
Thank you.
I can't even remember if we ever had our lights cut off or a bill, you know, not paid. Ladies, y'all pay attention. You want a brother that can pay the bills. Okay, he's a great provider. You've always been a great provider.
Thank you.
For our household.
Thank you.
You know, and I appreciate that. I really do. It's nothing more than, well, there is something more, but you all know the expression. There's nothing more than feeling secure as a woman and having your husband, you know, provide for his family. You know, he's a great teacher tonight. You're gonna see that he's a teacher of the word. You're not. He is. He's a giver. I love when you give of yourself. And the funny thing about it is you never tell me that I can't give.
Oh no.
I mean, I noticed that out of the 21 years, you know how in some marriages, you know, but I do remember times sitting in church, you know, when they're getting ready to take up an offering and, you know, I'd nudge you. I'd nudge you like, what we gonna give, you know, and you'd be like,
when I was in the choir stand, we gotta do handshake.
Like, yeah, you'd be like, like which checkbook, okay, like, so, but the reality is, he is a giver. You like to do behind the scenes giving, in secret. And what a lot of people don't know about my husband is he does things quietly, very you know, discreet. You don't always have to be seen giving.
Exactly.
And so, but I love the fact that you've always allowed me to freely give, not just financially, but of myself.
Thank you.
So, you know, he's a very giving and loving man of God, very caring. And so, you know, without further ado, I'm just going to turn it on over to him and let him teach whatever God has placed on his heart concerning trust and loyalty. And if at any moment that you all have questions, I want you to go ahead. I don't care if you're the same person sending in different questions. This is your opportunity to get your question answered. Okay, so don't ask me nothing after this webinar is over. Ask your questions during the webinar, and we're gonna come back at the end of the teaching and answer your questions. Amen. So without further ado.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Y'all noticed that the prophet has let me in her office tonight? I get to be in here next to her, so we can be right here up against each other. But yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I guess that's what it is, an opportunity. I thank you for giving me this opportunity. And when she first asked me about this and we were discussing, I said, well, you know, honey, there's not a whole lot to say about trust and loyalty. It's like, be trustworthy, be loyal. Thank you. Good night. I don't know if any of y'all remember watching Def Comedy Jam back in the day. Russell Simmons, they always tried to get him to say something. That was his phrase. Thank you for coming. Good night. So, but you know, I'm not an expert. So when I do present things, I do my research and look things over and everything. So that's not kind of what I did. That is what I did. So we'll talk a little bit just to kind of about, you know, of course, starting out with the definitions of both loyalty and trust, because there is a difference. Actually, you know, we were talking about this the other day while out doing a morning walk, just kind of discussing some things and just throwing some questions up and everything. And I was like, man, I hope nobody asked that question. She was like, well, maybe they will. I was like, I'll throw it back to you. No, I'm gonna throw it back to you. So that was the idea. So secrets to a supernatural marriage. You know, in the title, but as I said to her, God gave her this title. She told me this is what God told her to call it. But, you know, as I said, I don't have any secrets. You know, if it was a secret, only I would know it. That's the way I see it. It's not a secret, but because some of the things, that I'm going to say, you're going to already know, but it doesn't hurt to just re-emphasize those things to you. But let me go ahead and give you the answer at the end. You know, we're talking about a supernatural marriage, and I'm sure you guys who have been in church, you've already heard this. But in case there's somebody listening who's not a church goer or something like that, you guys already know. You heard what's already said. Supernatural is God putting His super on our natural. So the end result after everything that I say is going to be, you got to have God in the relationship, even with especially with this trust and loyalty. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. God has got to be in the midst of it. Okay. All right. So let's just start with a couple of definitions, and we'll start off with loyalty. All right. Loyalty is the support, and this is from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Didn't know it was still out, actually, but it is still out. Merriam-Webster. Loyalty is the support, faithfulness, or devotion to a person, group, or cause, or country. It implies a faithfulness that is steadfast in the face of any temptation to renounce, desert, or betray. So in other words, loyalty is faithfulness or devotion. You got that? To someone or something, kind of like regardless. One of the things I thought about, my wife will tell you I love sports. I thought about is fans. They're loyal to their team. The team may not have won a championship in 50, 100 years, but if it's football, every Sunday they're there in the paraphernalia, in the jerseys, woo, woo, woo. They're loyal, to that cause. All right. Trust, on the other hand, now, trust is the assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. All right. Let me say it one more time. Trust is the assured. Assured means guaranteed. That means you can take it to the bank. It's the assured, guaranteed reliance on the character, the ability. Hey, lend me $2. Well, hey, I trust that person got $2. I mean, it's guaranteed. I know you got $2. Give me $2. The strength. Think about figure skating. It's normally the lady trusts the man enough to pick me up, hold me over your head, twirl me around while we're skating around this ice at probably 40 or 50 miles per hour. I trust you. Trust to do this or something. In other words, to put it in a modern day vernacular, hey, we got each other's back. That person has my back. Some of you may participate, I don't know, in team building. If you work for a company or maybe for an agency, you'll go out and you'll have these team building exercises. And one of the ones that I really remember the most is the one where you climb up on the ladder and you've got your other coworkers. The first time I did, it wasn't a coworker. We were actually in college, and it was the student senate, the student government. And we went on a team building exercise. And so these are the other students there. So you climb up on the ladder, and the other people are there behind you, and you just fall backwards into their arms so they can build trust or reliance. I don't remember if I did it or not, but I remember, as you can see, I'm of the darker persuasion. So I get up on the ladder and I look back. So, this is back in the 80s. A lot of them are not of the darker persuasion. So I'm thinking, do I really trust these folks to catch me? And I'll tie that in back when we get into actual relationships part. I'm just going on a definition, but that's what it is. It's just a loyalty of trust. If I fall, you're going to catch me. I trust you. I rely on you. It's guaranteed. All right. Another, a simple example of reliance is when we sit in a chair. We trust it. We trust this chair that it's going to hold us up and not break. It's not going to fall. And we do that every day. Just don't even think about it. It's just a matter of trust. So when we got those definitions sitting here thinking about it, trust, as I wrote down here, trust goes out. Trust is from me. All right. It goes out. Loyalty comes in. All right. I trust you. I can't loyal to you, but you can have loyalty to me. So trust is personal. It's based on me. All right. And as we're going to see now, over time, your trust will determine the person's loyalty if you've proven yourself loyalty over time. All right. So I trust you or rely on you to pay the bills, to pick up the kids, pray for me and the family, and lead us. I trust you not to cheat on me. That's here. But a lot of times trust is based on what the other person done, but it's coming from me and loyalty is received. Okay. All right. Now you guys know I'm not the prophetess. I know she's all flamboyant, she does all this and she's got a thing. Okay. So I'm not gonna do all of that and everything, but y'all just stick with me for a little bit. We're two, we are like the yin and yang. We are different. I'm more conservative and inward. She's more outward. And so we do kind of complement each other. What you laughed at? You thought I was gonna say loud, didn't you? She thought I was gonna say loud, but no, that's I've grown used to it now.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I've gotten used to it. No, I've come to expect it. I wouldn't say I've gotten used to it. That may be a different word, but anyway, back to trust. I trust. Back to trust.
What that got to do with trust?
I think I tied it in somehow. I didn't tie it in.
No, that ain't flowing.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so I heard the prophetess mention that this is not a Bible study. Bible study was last night. Some people complain about we're going to pay for Bible study. This is a webinar with information, but I mean we are going to have some scriptures. I've got some scriptures, to give you. So I'm gonna give you a few Bible verses, but not a whole lot, because you can just if you want to go to your computers now and go into Google. And you could just put in there, what does the Bible say about trust and loyalty in marriage or relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. It'll pull up a whole bunch of scriptures for you. You'll get pages and pages of articles and everything. So I'm not going to just go through a whole list of that, but I am going to just point out a few things before we get into the meat of the matter, if you will. So one of the scriptures that jumped out to me, I thought it was apropos, or just it jumped out at me because I thought that's the way it is today. It's Psalms 12, 1 and 2, and it's the Psalm of David. And he says, "Help me, Lord, for no one is faithful anymore. Those who are loyal have vanished from the human race. Everyone lies to their neighbor. They flatter with their lips but harbor deception in their hearts."
Wow.
That sounds just like today.
It does.
And this coming from David way back, I don't know what year this was, but years and years ago. So centuries. So trust and loyalty have always seemed to be an issue. So, but in another scripture, one of the best examples of loyalty, and right now I'm just doing some observations about loyalty, is the story of Ruth and Naomi. If you're a Bible person, you understand Ruth and Naomi. But once again, in case there's someone here who's not necessarily a Christian, don't read the Bible, the story of Ruth and Naomi. Naomi was Ruth's mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. Her husband had died, Naomi's son. And so basically at some point, Naomi tells her, look, you can go on back to your people. Hey, I know my son's dead. I don't have any more children, no more sons for you to marry. So you can leave, essentially. But what Ruth said is like in chapter 1, verse 16, don't ask me to leave you or turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. It's like, wow. So that's loyalty. We're talking about loyalty, not trust. This has nothing to do with whether Ruth trusted her or Naomi trusted. That's loyalty. Going back to my definition, where is faithfulness or devotion to a person, group, or cause. It's steadfast in the face of any temptation to renounce or desert or betray. All right, so we got those two Bible verses there. So essentially, I was going to ask you to do something. Don't worry about that right now.
What?
I have something here I was going to ask you to do, but we're not going to worry about that right now. You want to do? Okay.
I mean,
well, I'm so happy to be sitting there beside my wife, and she didn't banish me to the other room like she did last time, but I'm here with her now. But you know how the Bible fixes it up. Your God will be my God, your Lord, my Lord. I will go whither you go and everything. I was like, how did sister say today? What would a sister said? How would the sister said? Girl, I ain't going nowhere. None of that. You can't tell them how they do it. Never mind.
I'll go wherever you go.
Yeah, well, never mind.
We talk about marriage, though.
Right, but I'm just talking about how that how Naomi and Ruth would have done it in present days, but time. if they were two sister girls talking.
I'm your ride or die.
There it is. There it is. I ain't going nowhere. So essentially, once again, talking about loyalty, true loyalty never ends. If it's true, it doesn't end. Because she even said, hey, I want to be buried where you buried. So she said, wherever you, that's where I'm going. So true loyalty never ends. Now, we're not talking about what we would call blind loyalty. Now, let's talk about blind loyalty for a minute. We're not talking about this. I want to be clear. Now, for this definition, I went to the Urban Dictionary. I don't know why, but it just had a little, just sounded, the Urban Dictionary. Now, listen, this is blind loyalty, and I'm going to tie this in again to what we're talking about. Being loyal to a person or cause despite the damage the person or cause does to himself or others. It says many people feel torn between retaining loyalty to the person or cause and risking rejection or ostracism or personal attack by outing misconduct. And when I looked in the dictionary, it said the classic example of this is the battered wife or the battered spouse who protects her partner when the police officer arrives. Wow. So we're not talking about blind loyalty. We're talking about what I guess we would call wholesome loyalty, not blind loyalty. We're not talking about that. Once again, being loyal to a person or cause despite the damage the person or the cause does to himself or herself or to others. So we're not talking about that. Now, that can also be ride or die, but we're not riding or dying with you to jail. I got some partners, we came up together, go back home to your high school reunion. Hey man, how you doing? What you doing? Well, I went to law school, et cetera, got a family, got a kids. This actually happened. Another dude, what you been? Well, man, I just got out the joint. Like, that's not funny, but it just kind of, you're sitting there talking to him like,
God. Oh my goodness.
So once again, tying this in, we may have grown up together, but there was no loyalty to his cause or whatever it was that caused him to have to go to the joint. So you see how I tied that back in? You got it. All right. Now, so far, do you want to throw anything in?
No,
so far?
Go ahead.
All right. So once again, these are other observations about loyalty. Now, this is another world form of loyalty, which kind of goes into the blind loyalty. Many people only show loyalty when something benefits them, but this should not be. We are not to act like the world. Okay, if it benefits me, I'll be loyal with you, until I get what I want. Then I'm out later. Deuces, as they say, later. I've got what I want. No, not that type of loyalty. As I said earlier, true loyalty never ends. It never ends. And final point about loyalty is that it's not simply a word, it's a lifestyle, lifestyle. So as Kim and I were talking about this, and when I get down to trust, you'll see this, but you can be trustworthy in particular instances or in certain areas, but that does not mean you're loyal. Loyal is over a course of time. You've shown yourself to be loyal. It's a lifestyle. So, all right. Anything, honey? All right, we'll go on over to trust.
Well,
I was about to say any questions, but I forgot I'm not actually in the classroom. But go ahead.
Well, you're talking about you can be loyal, trustworthy. Did you say you can be trustworthy in
I'm gonna cover that
certain areas? Right.
You may say you.
And we're talking about in the marriage.
Right. Exactly. We're going to talk. Let's say for in the marriage, you may be in. You're making me get ahead of myself, but I'll just skip on over. No, it's fine. Well, let me do this about trust, and as they stick a pin in it right there, and then we'll come back to that because I do bring out this. Now, trust. We're talking here about trust, and I've given you the definition earlier. So when both spouses are following the Lord completely, it is much easier to have trust in the marriage. Now I said completely, so that does not mean on Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day.
All right.
So if you're only following Christ on those days, it's probably got some trust issues going, So When you
Now, you said when both spouses are following the Lord completely.
completely,
And
yes,
now,
ma'am.
what does that mean?
I didn't define that here, but I mean, we know you are. Now we're not talking about perfection. We know nobody's perfect, but you're striving every day to do what's right. You've accepted Christ as your Savior. Uh, you're studying, you're praying, you're doing everything that you're supposed to do as a Christian, as you've been taught to be a Christian, which means, like I said, praying for your family, being there, being trustworthy in some areas, doing things you're supposed to do, taking care of your family, studying, reading, praying, tithing, giving, sowing, all of those. You're doing this, you're following him completely. You're sold out. Like the song you sing in church, I'm sold out. You're sold out for Christ completely. Not SOLD, like you sold it. When we first started singing the song, I thought that's what it sounds like. Hey, kind of like telling somebody a sellout. When I actually saw the CD, it's SOUL, like your soul. Then it had ED, you're sold out. So that's what it means. It's like a little play on words, but you're completely sold out to Christ. All right. So as I told you, I studied and looked for some information. I came across some articles, and the articles that I read pretty much came to the same conclusion, which is that if both spouses, I guess I should clarify, mostly read Christian articles that I told you, if you do a search, you'll find these things. If both spouses sincerely love Jesus, serve and love Jesus, there really won't be any trust issues. Really. I mean, if they sincerely love and serve Jesus, you won't have any trust issues. But as I said before, you can be trustworthy in one area, but not another. There was this article, and I want to give a citation to it because I don't want to be accused of plagiarism. The author is Nan S. Russell. It's a Psychology Today article written on August 28, 2016. And she called this the halo effect, right? And I'm just going to read it to you verbatim so that I don't mess it up. And it says, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the halo effect is the tendency of a favorable or unfavorable impression created by an individual in one area to influence one's judgment of him or her in another. Say it one more time. The halo effect is the tendency of a favorable or unfavorable impression created by an individual in one area to influence one's judgment of him or her in another. An example that she says is that you would not allow your auto mechanic to do a root canal, right? Your auto mechanic has proven himself faithful in fixing your car, but trustworthy. So just because he's a trustworthy auto mechanic does not mean you let your auto mechanic do a root canal. So it says don't apply the equivalent elsewhere. Just because someone is successful or competent in their particular role doesn't mean they're trustworthy in other roles. Now, coming back to what you said, let's say, for example, this is a man. He treats you like a queen. It's nothing he wouldn't do for you. I mean, he honors you, does what the Bible says, loves you. There's nothing he would not do. He's proven himself trustworthy. He's never cheated on you, never hit you, done everything. But the issue we discussed, you can't trust him in the finances. See what I mean? So he's got these other areas where he's trustworthy, but when it comes to the finances and budgeting, he messes up your bills. He messes up your budget. He does not know what he's doing. So, I know you're waiting to discuss it like we did, but that's what I mean by you can be trustworthy in one area, but not necessarily in another.
Okay, well, let's just break it on down
Sure.
where everybody live at, okay?
Go on where you live.
Now, if we're talking about trust, and we're going to give secrets to supernatural trust and, the how-tos or the what-to-dos. But what you supposed to do?
And what I put in my notes, I think you do just...
when a person can't be trusted.
Sure.
Okay, well, let's since
okay,
you
in the
brought
marriage.
up
Okay, in the marriage. First of all, you as a spouse, whichever it is, first of all, you got to go to him or her in love. Look, honey, I really love you. You're great at this. you're great at this, you're great at that, and everything, but hey, you're messing up in the area of finances. You go to him.
So now, what if he don't receive it?
I'm getting to that
Oh.
next. If he or she does not receive it, and I don't have the scripture, it's like first you go, then you go to my suggestion, seek out a counselor then. Okay, you done what you've done. I've approached the person, it's kind of like when you have with a person, you go to them, then they don't receive, then you go take them to the elders or everything. So you do that. Then, as I put in my notes, really,
you take your husband to the elder?
No, first, don't go to the elders right now. I would seek out a marriage counselor.
But if that don't work, is that what you're saying?
I ain't got to that yet. This is the exact conversation we had the other morning. It went exactly like this.
We want to know, Okay.
So you go to, and then I think, of course, men, we're kind of apprehensive about doing things like that, going out. So try to choose somebody that he or she trusts, and will listen to. Is there a mentor? Is there someone that he trusts, that he looks up to, that he receives from? If someone told him that, and see if you can go in and talk. And then you said if he doesn't want to do that, doesn't agree to that with that, I honestly don't know. We talked about that Saturday.
Well, okay, but you got a lot of, let's just be real about it. You got a lot of men,
right,
that are very prideful.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to their personal business, their marriage.
Exactly.
And they not trying to go to no marriage counselor. Some people just don't trust nobody.
Exactly.
So, and then you behind closed doors, and you're struggling.
Right.
And then now you're saying take them to the elder if they don't.
I didn't get to the elder. Saying? No, I said go. You pray for them. You talk to them. You confront. I don't want to use the word confront, but y'all know what I mean. Just bring the issue up, not in a confrontational way, with love. And if they don't receive it, but once again, then you can seek outside counseling.
Y'all hear me?
And we this is exactly how this conversation went the other morning. I'm telling you. And so if he or she does not receive that, and what I actually told her when we were talking about, we're trying to get supernatural things, right? Is that you just may have to take matter into your own hands. I don't know how your income is set up. You have to do something. And honestly, as I said before, I don't have all the answers. That's something that we have not had to deal with. If you are a man and you're listening to this, I did have in my notes, and I was going to say is that it's not a sign of weakness, man, to admit that an area is not yours. I got a good friend of mine. I mean, he's got 2 degrees, there's several degrees, and doing well, and just really flourishing financially and all this other thing, and socially and politically. But he said, man, my wife handles the finances because that's not me.
Right.
He had enough sense to realize if I go try to handle this, it's gonna mess us up. And so they've been doing it for 20 some years. And that's not a sign of weakness. So if you're a brother or a sister who's listening, realize there's nothing wrong with realizing where you have a shortcoming and asking for help. I mean, if you look at both of your incomes, and after you get done with everything, something's still not right, you're thinking, boy, based on all the money we're making, we should be doing this, and we should be doing that. But we are not doing this, and we barely got enough left. And you're in charge of the bills, and you need to ask yourself what you're doing wrong. So I don't know what else to tell him or her beyond that. That's just what I would do. And so this webinar is based on our experiences. That's what I would do. Do you want to add anything to it? If it were a situation like us, if I were doing that, I'm just like, no, what would you do if it were?
Ask me the question again.
If it was that situation, I'm handling the finances and messing everything up, knowing that I don't have an anointing for that area.
Well,
so
I guess I'm gonna cover some of those things next week
All right.
because we're gonna
Okay.
be talking about, effective communication.
Okay.
But one thing that I can say is, me and my personality, it just all depends on what the situation is. If it were the finances,
Mhm.
you know, being me, I would come to you
Right.
and show you the wisdom that I see in a particular area. It's not always what you say, or maybe it's how you say it.
Sure.
And with men, sometimes you have to say things or word things a particular way, not to make a
Sure.
man feel belittled.
Right.
Okay, ladies, for instance, if I were to say, um, if I were to say, well, you ain't handling the bills right.
Hmm.
You dummy. Seem like, if I were to
Hmm.
attack you, then
Sure.
of course that's not going to be received right.
Sure. Right.
But um, but then if I were to say, well, baby, you know what? Um, I see, something is wrong here.
Hmm.
Can we? Can I show you a different way
Right.
that might benefit our household?
Right.
Or how it would.
Hmm.
You know what I'm? Do you get
Sure.
what I'm saying?
Sure.
Look, we're gonna take a short break,
Okay.
and we're gonna come right back here in just a moment. All right.